Hey everyone, thanks so much for tuning into the channel. I'm here with Star. And Star, tell us a little bit about your background, PT, non-PT.
Yeah, so I did my undergrad at University of Illinois Chicago. I got my bachelor's in kinesiology, and I specifically moved to the US because I wanted to get my doctorate in physical therapy, and my country didn't offer that. So I contacted UIC, saw what prereqs I need, started with their undergrad degree, and then went on and applied for PT school.
That's amazing that you moved to the US for. Tell us a little bit about your journey with that. You're a first generational student, I believe. How has
Mhm.
that experience been prepared you for PT school and just shaped your perspective throughout?
Right. So a lot of the stuff that I do now actually goes back to kind of what I was missing when I first got started. At the time that I was kind of looking at social media and kind of shopping around, there were not many creators that talked about how to apply to PT school. What do you need to do in your undergrad to be a successful candidate? So I had to do a lot of the research on my own.
Yeah.
And and I realized the importance of mentorship throughout that. So that's what my experience was like, kind of lacking that mentor and having to look harder than what it had to be
Yeah.
as kind of an international student and then applying as a first gen graduate student.
Yeah. That is really awesome that you took that leap and that you had that opportunity. And I love I'll link your social media account too, but you've really
Thank you.
provided some great resources.
Thank you.
So going on the topic of maintaining good grades while in PT school, I know from your post too that you've had a couple jobs in PT school. Take us through some of them, your experience with those, and how you were able to maintain all of this while in a doctoral program.
Yeah, so when I was starting the program, I, like most people, thought I have to quit all of my jobs and just focus and I will be studying 24/7. And that is the case the first couple of quarters, I would say. I definitely did a lot less work. So before starting PT school, I was an assistant manager at a gym, at a corporate wellness, and then I taught some fitness classes, and then I stopped that job when starting PT school. The first, we're on a quarter system. So the first quarter, I just took time off to get used to the process of being a grad student and a PT student. And then from the following quarters, I realized there's a lot of job offers within the school through federal work study or just getting job offers to do kind of random work at what anything you're interested in. So I started teaching a couple group exercise classes on campus. And then I got the opportunity to work with the social media crew of my program and my school.
Wow.
So that's one of the jobs that I kept. I did some research assistant jobs for some TMJ CPGs that one of my professors were doing.
Wow.
And then outside of PT school, the jobs that I had, I took a gap year between high school and moving here for college. So I was a travel agent at the time.
Oh, wow.
Um, so the first summer break of PT school, we had 3 weeks off. So I restarted that. And I had 3 weeks to travel and make money. So that's what I
Yeah.
did,
Wow.
which was really fun. And I currently work at the university bookstore. And I dog walk on the weekends. I actually have two of them staying with me here
Oh,
today.
that's really cool. Like there's a lot of it sounds like you chose some very flexible jobs, but were also like interesting that were in your interest too. I don't know if you like dogs or like you seem to like traveling.
I,
So,
yeah, exactly. It's like I always say anything that you can think of, you'll be able to find it. Like if you dream it, you can do it.
yeah.
And you're like, oh, I like social media. I went up to my so my program did have a social media page, but
Yeah.
the hours were just it was only like 1 hour a week. So I went to a kind of the supervisor and I was like, this is what I can offer. And if you give me more hours, like this is what I can do with the page. And they were open to it. So just
Oh,
be
wow.
very open about your abilities. I think sometimes it's hard to, you feel like you're kind of bragging about yourself, but if you have the background and you have the ideas,
Yeah.
People are more willing to listen and accepting. So
Yeah.
I would say just step out of your comfort zone.
Yeah. And two, I think it's like I love that you had mentioned the group exercise classes because that really builds like the foundation for PT school.
Right, doing personal training. Like if there's any undergrads watching, I would highly recommend getting a personal training certification and working at least for a little bit because it kind of not really bedside manners. That's another thing that you can get through being a tech at a clinic, but learning how to educate people on exercises, how to like use different terms to make them understand and like kind of bring that mind and body connection in for the patient. Sometimes that's hard because they're like, I don't feel this. Like, where am I supposed to feel it?
Mhm.
And things like that. And you mentioned like how to kind of balance grades with school. I say this to a lot of like the classes below us in school all the time. You're in PT school now, and obviously there are program requirements. You have to maintain a specific GPA. But I would really recommend stop looking at exams as, oh, like I have to get the highest grade or else. Look at it every time you take an exam and you get any question up, like wrong, that is an opportunity for you to learn what you need to touch up on more and understand better to help your future patients. So like stop thinking about yourself like as a memorizing machine that only needs to pass tests. You're like training to become a clinician. So look at exams in that sense.
Yeah, that's a really great way to look at it. And I feel like that takes some of the pressure off too. Like there are requirements, but you're more than just like a memorizing machine, like you said. In your like clinical experiences too, how has you have do you have your personal training certification?
Yes,
And you had mentioned too that do you feel like that helped you prepare more for the clinicals, for interacting with patients and taking them through exercises?
for sure. So my freshman year of college, I got my certification in personal training and I started doing personal training since then. And then a couple years later, I got my yoga teaching certification. And I would definitely say um, it gives you a whole new bank of information that you can always go back on. Because don't, if you've never worked as like training somebody to do something and you don't exercise yourself, you're going to be limited in your creativity in creating an exercise program. You
Right.
learn very little and limited in school. I mean, my professors would always say, we're not giving you a list of exercises
Yeah.
to memorize. Like, you got to go out there and do that yourself. But it goes way beyond just doing the pulleys and quad sets and straight leg raises.
Right.
When you learn that, take an extra step to do all of that, you can give your patients a lot better care and progress them a lot faster.
Right. Those are really good points. And that made me think of too, like a PT told me that if you can't demonstrate the exercise yourself, then maybe you shouldn't be like giving the
Right.
patient the exercise. Something along those lines. It might have not been that
Yeah.
harsh a word,
Right.
but I think that's a good point that you made with like your background in fitness too, and just taking care of yourself overall to be able to help our future patients.
Exactly.
Unless you're clumsy. I sometimes teach patients the exercise and I trip, but that's a whole nother thing.
No, so I told you I'm taking an intro to pelvic floor and I realized like I'm so bad at activating my transverse abdominis, and I
Yeah.
was like, oh my God, I've been telling people to use this cue like all this time, and my professor like taught me a new one. I was like, oh my God, like I was just explaining it to the patient. I was never trying to do it myself and see how hard it is.
Yeah. With all of the jobs that you've had in PT school, how have you been able to manage that while also preventing burnout? Sometimes
Mhm.
take me through like your experience with,
Yeah. I love burnout questions because I
yeah,
think it's such a preventable thing, but we don't always think of it that way. And then we're like completely burnout. I'm just like, okay, now what?
yeah,
So number one, I would say choosing jobs that you're actually passionate about. I used to for like I want to say like a 6 month period, I decided to work in retail. And I dreaded every single second of going in, even though my hours were a lot shorter than the things I do now.
Yeah.
And that was really burning me out. I was like, at the end of the day, I'm done with classes. Now I have to go and do a job that I have no interest in. So
Right.
I would definitely say choosing jobs that you are passionate about. And also another thing is, I know like when you're in PT school, it's very hard to separate yourself from being a student physical therapist, but really finding things in your personality and in your life that are not PT related. Like I don't expect if I go to physical therapy, I don't expect that that is the only thing my PT does, comes to the clinic and
Yeah.
it goes to work out and that's it. Like maybe it like finding other venues in your life and other parts to kind of nurture and grow, whether that like I picked up baking this year. I am so bad at baking, but I'm just like something new, something that like I don't have to go through a clinical reasoning
Right.
process and all
Yeah.
of that. So I
Yeah.
would say just find hobbies outside of PT school and
Yeah.
also have build a support system that is not just in school. It's really nice to have our friends group in the program. You grow with each other, you're there during the hard times, but take that time to take that friendship outside of the program, but also maintain your other friendships and your other relationships too.
Right. I love that you had mentioned that point too, because it's nice in PT school that you have the breaks too. So on the breaks, really nurturing those relationships outside of PT school, being in contact with your friends throughout, I think that's important too, to really separate yourself as a person outside of
Mhm.
PT.
Yeah. And I always say this, there's this app that I love. My sister and I actually started using it, and then I just sent it to all my non-PT school friends. It's like,
Yeah.
I think it's called Time Tree, where you can like merge your Google calendars in one, and then like you find all these like days that both of you are like free that you
Oh,
can like
wow.
plan something. You know what I'm saying?
I need to get that. Let me write that down.
Yeah.
And I guess getting on the topic of like taking breaks in PT school, I don't know how your program does it, but do you have like any advice for some like students going on break, like to prevent that burnout, that time off of school? Like, is there anything student you recommend students do or not do?
Um, my program were 10 weeks on, 1 week off, and
Okay.
then some random places in the program you get a couple weeks off for Christmas,
Yeah.
and things like that. But I would say just take that whole ours is only a week, so literally like take that week to catch up on sleep. Just
Yeah.
do whatever you love to do and don't worry about the next quarter. It's kind of nice that when the quarter's done, we're done with all the classes. So we're not going into the break with things that might pop up the next quarter. We have
Yeah.
no idea what we're gonna encounter. So I would say just like you're done, you did a great job. You passed another semester, you passed
Yeah.
another quarter. Just close that book for now and go ahead and rest.
Yeah. That's a really good point. I think that intentional rest, especially if it's like a week off only, because I know I've heard of some students that try to like prepare for the next semester on the break and just really taking that time for yourself
Mhm.
is important.
Yeah, I see a lot of students before starting PT school, they're like, what do I need to study? I'm like, nothing. Like,
Right.
you will learn anatomy from the very beginning again. You will learn
Yeah.
biomechanics from the very beginning. You just need to like prepare yourself and
Yeah.
take care of yourself
Right.
for dedicating the next 3 years to that.
True. Very true. Someone else, I forgot who said this, said to like prepare your life outside of PT school in that time. Because once you get into PT school, it's about
Right.
school.
Right.
If you had to go back to yourself 2 or 3 years from now, as you were pre-PT about to start, what advice would you give yourself?
I would definitely start a budget plan a lot sooner. At my previous, like before I started PT school, I had a pretty good income and I was very happy about that. But
Mhm.
I didn't adjust my spending to not like from going to that to not making any money and taking out
Yeah.
loans.
Yeah.
So I would say like, but have a financial budget going into PT school. Now that I'm getting ready to graduate, I'm looking at loan repayment and things like that. And I just think back and I'm like, I could have probably started paying off some loans from the beginning to
Yeah.
kind of help. me after graduation. So I would say definitely look into financial budgeting
Yeah.
before PT school starts. That's a big thing. Another thing is be okay with the first couple of quarters. Like for example, all of my school friends, everybody stays in school in the library to study, or everybody studies in groups. I'm
Yeah.
a very like I need to be by myself in my apartment to be able to study. So I was following the crowd a lot. I was
Yeah.
going to lectures, and I do better just studying on my own or watching recorded lectures. So I
Yeah.
was following the crowd a little too much, and
Yeah.
that was actually causing me to burn out. So I
Yeah.
would say if you're doing stuff a little different than your friends and other people, that's totally okay. Trust your instincts. Everything has worked for you up to this point, and now you're in a PT program. So don't think that you have to very drastically change your ways in order to stay successful.
I love that point a lot. And it can feel like you have to do what everybody else is doing to be
Mhm.
successful. But I love that you had mentioned that you were doing things differently, like taking time to study alone. I might take that part out. I was thinking about like saying like group studying. A lot of
Yeah.
people say group studying is like the end all be all, but I love that you
Mhm.
mentioned that you were studying.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
take
I usually do group studying, like if it's on the exam day, once I'm completely ready and I've studied everything on my own, usually like an hour or 2 hours before the exam, me and a few friends, we sit and we kind of like go through some concepts together, but I can never start studying the material in a group setting. That's just my personality.
yeah.
I get too distracted.
Yeah. I mean, is there anything we haven't talked about that you would want to talk about?
I would really recommend starting your networking and starting building a support system for after you graduate from the very first day of PT school. I have like this ongoing joke that me and like the front desk staff at the PT office were like I see them more than my parents. I constantly go up to the PT office even if I don't have like a question on material. I just like to go check in on professors I haven't seen like in a couple weeks. I
Yeah.
would say start building those relationships early on and find your mentors.
Yeah.
And another thing, at least in my program, we have a lot of guest speakers that come in. Obviously, you don't have to connect with all of them depending on what the subject is and if you're interested in their work or not. But if you are, I would highly recommend building a LinkedIn profile early on in the program, keeping contact with the guest lecturers and other professors that you find that it's going to benefit you in the future and they kind of inspire you with the work they do, that will help you in the long run, I would say.
That's really good advice because the PT world is very, very small. So
Exactly.
thank you so much, Star, for today. We appreciate you taking time for this. And I will link some of your contact info if people would like to reach out to you too.
For sure. Thank you so much for having me.